Where did you get this? Jungkook's voice cracked through the silent room like glass under pressure. The dim studio lights flickered above him, casting long shadows on the white walls. His manager, Nam, stood frozen, the phone trembling in his hand. On the screen glowed a single image, grainy, dark, but unmistakable. Jungkook, 5 years younger, standing too close to Lee Yu-bai, their faces hidden beneath a single black umbrella. The rain in the photo looked like falling shards of memory. Nam swallowed hard. It's spreading online. A forum account dropped it at 3 a.m. with the caption. They said it was just a rumor, but was it? It's already trending. Jungkook's jaw tightened. He stared at the image again, his heart thundering in a rhythm he hadn't felt since those nights, those secret nights that should have stayed buried. He wanted to deny it, laugh it off like every other rumor. But he couldn't, because he remembered the smell of that rain, the soft tremble of Yu-bai's voice when she said goodbye, and the quiet click of the paparazzi's camera that he thought was just his imagination. Delete it, Jungkook muttered, voice low but deadly. All of it. Nam looked up, panic flickering in his eyes. We can't. It's already on thousands of accounts. Some are digging into her old interviews, your past live streams. They're connecting dots that shouldn't exist. Jungkook turned away, the taste of bitterness rising in his throat. The past was catching up, faster than he could run. The room fell silent except for the faint hum of the city outside. Through the tinted glass, Seoul looked alive, neon veins pulsing through the night. But to Jungkook, it felt like a trap closing in that he closed his eyes, exhaling shakily. Who sent it? Nam hesitated. Anonymous. But the timestamp matches an IP we've traced to someone inside the industry. Possibly another label. That was enough. Jungkook's fists clenched. Betrayal was nothing new in his world, but this was personal, because the rumor wasn't just a rumor. 5 years ago, Jeju Island. The waves were quiet that night. Yu-bai's laughter echoed softly across the empty beach, her hair whipping in the salt wind as she ran ahead, barefoot. Jungkook followed behind, camera in hand, capturing her in fleeting frames. You'll delete that, right? She called out, half laughing, half serious. He smiled. Maybe. Jungkook, she warned, her tone playful but her eyes hiding something fragile. You know what will happen if anyone sees us together. He lowered the camera. Then we'll just make sure they don't. For a moment, time stood still. Two people bound by fame and fear, standing between love and ruin. And then the flash, quick, distant, from across the dunes. He saw it only for a second. A camera, a shadow, a secret born in the dark that he didn't tell her. Now, years later, the secret was breathing again. Jungkook opened his phone. Notifications exploded across the screen. Articles, comments, speculation. Hashtag Jungkook dating scandal was everywhere. Some fans defended him with desperate loyalty. Others demanded the truth. And beneath it all, a single anonymous post appeared. Ask him about Jeju, 2019. Ask him about the night under the umbrella. Jungkook's blood ran cold. By midnight, the agency held an emergency meeting. PR teams, lawyers, executives, all speaking in circles. Damage control, denial strategies, carefully crafted statements. But Jungkook barely heard them. His mind was elsewhere. On Yu-bai. Had she seen it yet? Did she remember? As the voices around him blurred into static, Jungkook rose from his seat. I'll handle it myself. Jungkook, Nam started, but he was already walking out, the door slamming behind him. The cold Seoul air bit at his skin as he stepped outside. He pulled up his hood, blending into the crowd of midnight wanderers. The city felt too loud, too bright. He moved quickly through the streets, every step echoing like a heartbeat. Her address was still memorized. Even after all these years, the apartment door opened slowly. Yu-bai stood there, her eyes wide, startled, and then soft with something like resignation. I thought you'd come, she said quietly. Jungkook looked at her, the woman he had once loved in secret. Time had changed her, but her gaze still had the same calm fire that drew him in. You saw it, he said. She nodded. They found the photo. A long silence stretched between them, heavy with everything they never said. I told you this would happen one day, she whispered. And I told you I'd protect you. Jungkook replied, voice trembling with conviction. She smiled faintly, sadness flickering in her eyes. You can't protect what's already been broken. The rain began to fall outside, slow and steady, like memory returning. Jungkook stepped closer, his reflection merging with hers in the window's glass. Then I'll fix it. But Yubai looked away, her voice barely audible. It's not the world you're fighting anymore, Jungkook. It's the truth. And the truth, as they both knew, had finally come knocking. The next morning broke with a cruel kind of brightness, the kind that didn't bring warmth, only exposure. The world had changed overnight. Every news outlet screamed the same headline. Jungkook and Lee Yubai. Hidden affair or misunderstood friendship? Hashtags burned across social media like wildfire. Analysis videos dissected every gesture, every glance from years of footage. Even silence became suspicious. Jungkook watched it all unfold on a muted TV screen inside his apartment, the sound of his own heartbeat louder than anything else. His phone buzzed constantly, but he ignored it. Managers, producers, friends, all of them wanted a statement. None of them wanted the truth that he stood at the window, staring out at Seoul's skyline, the city that made him, now ready to devour him whole. The doorbell rang. Once, twice, then again, insistently. When he opened it, Nam was there, dark circles under his eyes, holding a folder full of printed articles. You've got to see this, Nam said, stepping in without waiting. It's getting worse. Jungkook said nothing. Nam tossed the folder onto the table, photos, screenshots, even old fan-taken videos from airport sightings. They found timestamps that match your Jeju trip. Someone inside the hotel confirmed 2 bookings under your aliases. We can't deny it anymore. Jungkook sat down slowly, running a hand through his hair. Who leaked it? Nam hesitated. We're still tracing it. But there's something else. He slid a new photo forward. Jungkook froze that it was him again. Older, recent, standing in front of Yubai's building the night before. Someone had captured it. Another photo, another spark for the fire. Nam's voice dropped, trembling. You went there, didn't you? Jungkook looked away. I had to. Do you have any idea what this looks like now? Nam's frustration cracked through the room. They're calling it a rekindled affair. Fans are turning against you. Sponsors are threatening to pull out. And Jungkook's head snapped up. What about her? Nam hesitated. She's been contacted by the press. But she's not saying anything. Not denying it. Not confirming either. Silence settled like ash. Jungkook leaned back, staring blankly at the ceiling. He could almost hear the rain from last night again, the echo of Yubai's words. It's not the world you're fighting anymore. It's the truth. He didn't realize he'd clenched his fists until his knuckles turned white. Across the city, Lee Yubai sat by her window, staring at her own reflection. The apartment was quiet, filled only with the faint hum of traffic and the drip of coffee cooling in her cup. Her phone lay face down on the table, still vibrating with calls she didn't want to answer, as she'd thought she had moved on. New projects, new people, new versions of herself. But the past had a cruel habit of knocking when you least expected it. She turned her gaze to a photo frame hidden behind a pile of scripts, a snapshot of a sunset on Jeju Island. The photo was blurry, but she could still see him there, laughing, the sea wind in his hair. She'd kept it all these years, even when she swore she hadn't. Her phone buzzed again. A message this time, from an unknown number. They're coming for him. Tell the truth before they twist it. Yubai's heart stuttered. She recognized the number format. It belonged to an industry insider. Someone she once trusted. Someone who knew. Her hands trembled as she typed a reply. Who are you? No response. Just 3 dots that blinked once and vanished. She stared at the screen, her pulse racing. Somewhere deep inside, she knew this wasn't random. Someone wanted this rumor alive. Someone wanted them both exposed. Later that afternoon, Jungkook arrived at the studio for rehearsal. The usual noise, laughter, music, chatter had vanished. Conversation stopped when he entered. He could feel the weight of 100 eyes. The producer, a man in his 50s with a sharp suit and sharper tongue, approached him quietly. You should take some time off. Until things calm down. Jungkook looked at him, jaw tense. And if they don't, the man sighed. Then the label will have to make a choice. Jungkook understood what that meant. His career, his life's work, now dangled on a string woven from speculation and fear. When the rehearsal ended early, he stayed behind, alone under the dim lights. He played a soft chord on his guitar, then another, until the melody felt like memory itself, fragile, half-forgotten, he whispered into the empty room. Was it a mistake? Loving her? At the same moment, Yubai sat in her car outside a broadcast building. She had an interview scheduled, her first public appearance since the scandal broke. Her manager urged her to stay quiet, to smile, to pretend she hadn't seen anything. But silence felt like another kind of betrayal. She inhaled deeply and stepped out. The flashes began instantly. Cameras, voices, chaos. Liu Bai, is it true you dated Jungkook? Were you together on Jeju Island? Did you two meet last night? She didn't answer. Not yet. Her heels clicked against the marble floor, echoing like gunshots. Inside the studio, she took her seat under the blinding lights. When the interviewer smiled and asked, "So, you buy SSI? Is there any truth to the rumors between you and BTS's Jungkook?" She didn't flinch. For a heartbeat, she thought of the rain, the laughter, the promises whispered in the dark. And then she looked straight into the camera. Her lips parted. "Some things," she said softly, "aren't rumors at all." The studio went dead silent. Back at the studio, Jungkook's phone buzzed again. A notification, a live stream alert. He tapped it open. There she was, her voice steady, her eyes calm but SADAS. Her words echoed through the speakers. Jungkook's hands trembled. His reflection in the dark screen looked like a ghost of who he used to be. For the first time, he realized this wasn't about saving his image anymore. It was about confronting what they had both buried. And who had been watching all along. He turned off the screen and whispered to himself, "If the truth is coming, then I'll meet it halfway." Outside, thunder rolled across the horizon. And somewhere in the city, someone smiled. The person who had leaked it all, watching the pieces finally fall into place. Echoes in the rain hadn't stopped for 3 days. Seoul felt suffocated beneath the endless gray, as if the city itself was mourning something it didn't yet understand. Inside his dim apartment, Jungkook sat on the floor, his guitar leaning and used against the wall. The only light came from the television, replaying clips of Yu Bai's interview on a loop. Some things aren't rumors at all. Those 6 words had detonated like a bomb. Every outlet twisted them differently. Some called it a confession, others a provocation. Fans were divided, love and hate colliding in digital chaos. Anam's voice crackled through the phone speaker. "Jungkook, you need to let the PR team issue a statement. A denial, or at least a clarification." Jungkook didn't respond. His gaze stayed fixed on the rain outside. What if she's right? Nam's tone sharpened. Right about what? That it wasn't a rumor. There was a long pause. The sound of Nam's frustrated sigh filled the silence. "Don't do this, Jungkook. You'll destroy everything you've built." But maybe, Jungkook thought, that was the problem. Everything he'd built had been on silence, a wall of control, discipline, and carefully measured distance. Love had no place in that world. Still, the memory of Yu Bai's smile under that old black umbrella wouldn't fade. He finally said, quietly, "Send me the contact number for the person who traced the original leak." Why? Because I'm done running. Meanwhile, Yu Bai sat across from her manager in a silent cafe tucked behind Apgujeong's narrow streets. The rain tapped softly against the glass, her reflection blurred in its shimmer. Her manager's tone was calm but heavy. "You realize what you've done, don't you? The network called this morning. They might cut your upcoming project. Your sponsors want an explanation." "I told the truth," Yu Bai said simply. "The truth?" Her manager echoed bitterly. "You gave them blood. You didn't just admit it. You confirmed the most dangerous part of it." Yu Bai didn't flinch. Her eyes were steady, haunted, but resolute. "I was tired of pretending, tired of erasing parts of myself just to be palatable." Her manager sighed. "And what about him? Jungkook? You think you've helped him?" The question lingered like smoke. She wanted to say yes, but deep down, she knew she'd only made his burden heavier. Her phone vibrated. An unknown message flashed across the screen. "You both should have stayed silent. The next photo drops tonight." Yu Bai's heart froze. She looked around the cafe, searching the faces, but no one seemed to be watching. Still, the feeling of being observed clung to her skin. She quickly typed back, "Who are you?" No reply. At 9:47 p.m., the internet exploded again. A new post appeared on an anonymous forum. "The truth beneath the rain," photo number 2. It showed Jungkook and Yu Bai again, but not on Jeju this time. It was a dim backstage hallway. She was in a pale dress, he in a hoodie, their faces inches apart. The photo caught them mid-laughter, unaware of the flash. The timestamp, March 2020 at a charity event. Months after they had supposedly broken up, the captions were merciless, so they lied all along. Scandal hidden for years. Was it love or manipulation? The comments bled like open wounds across every platform. Jungkook stared at the image, pulse pounding in his ears. He recognized the hallway instantly, the side entrance of a theater in Gangnam. He remembered that night vividly, the sound of her laughter echoing between the walls, how she'd brushed a drop of paint from his cheek and whispered, "You'll never escape me completely, will you?" He hadn't known anyone had seen them. Nam burst into the apartment, soaked from the rain. "It's out again. Another leak. Jungkook, this isn't random anymore. Someone's orchestrating this." "I know," Jungkook said quietly. "And I'm going to find out who." Nam frowned. "How? You think they'll just tell you?" "No," Jungkook's gaze hardened. "But Yubai might know." That night, under the downpour, Jungkook drove through the empty streets toward her apartment. His wipers struggled to keep up with the torrent, but he didn't slow down. The world outside was a blur of light and shadow as he arrived past midnight. The building was dark except for one window glowing faintly. He knew it was hers. He climbed the stairs quietly and knocked once. Then again, the door opened slowly. Yubai stood there, wearing an oversized sweater, her hair undone. Her eyes softened when she saw him. "You shouldn't be here." "Neither should you," Jungkook replied, stepping in. The silence between them was thick, electric. "You saw the new photo?" she asked. He nodded. "Do you know who's behind it?" Yubai hesitated. Then, almost reluctantly, she opened her phone and handed it to him. "I got a message before it dropped. Same number that warned me before." He read the screen, the timestamp, the words. His pulse quickened. Whoever this is, they know too much. These weren't paparazzi shots. They're personal, private. Her voice broke slightly. "What if it's someone close to us?" The thought landed like thunder. He looked at her, really looked at her, and for a moment, the world fell away. "Yubai," he said softly, "if this keeps going, they'll destroy you." She met his gaze with quiet defiance. "They already tried, but I'm still here." He stepped closer. "Then we fight together." Her breath caught, the air between them charged with everything they'd buried for years. But before she could respond, a faint sound echoed from the hallway. A soft click, like a camera shutter. Jungkook spun toward the noise, but when he yanked the door open, the corridor was empty. Only the rain, falling harder than ever. He stood frozen for a long moment. Then he turned back to Yubai, his expression unreadable. "We're not alone." She nodded slowly, her voice barely a whisper. "They're watching us again, aren't they?" The thunder rolled outside, shaking the windows. Jungkook stepped closer to the window, staring into the darkness below. Somewhere out there, beyond the streetlights and the storm, someone was waiting, feeding on their silence, turning their love into ammunition. He clenched his fists, his reflection merging with hers in the glass. "This time," he murmured, "we hunt them first." The shadow between us, the rain finally stopped, but the silence it left behind was worse. By dawn, Seoul looked washed clean, as if the city wanted to forget what had happened. But the internet never forgets. Overnight, #Jungkook Yubai scandal had surged back to the top of every trend chart. Fan theories spread like wildfire. Some claimed it was a smear campaign. Others insisted it was love resurrected. But for Jungkook, it was something else entirely. A hunt. He sat in front of his laptop, the blinds drawn, eyes fixed on a message thread that Nam had decrypted. The source of the leak wasn't random. It was routed through multiple dummy accounts, each tied to entertainment industry IPs. And one stood out. "HY Media," Jungkook murmured. "That's not a coincidence." Nam leaned against the wall, pale from exhaustion. "HY Media used to manage you by before her contract ended. You think they're behind this?" Jungkook's jaw tightened. "No, not the company. Someone inside it." He clicked through the data logs again, and a name surfaced. Han Seojun, a junior publicist from her former agency. Someone who had once worked closely with both of them during a charity campaign in 2020. Nam frowned. He disappeared from the industry 2 years ago. Went freelance. Or, Jungkook said, eyes narrowing, he's been waiting. That afternoon, Yubai sat in her living room, surrounded by silence. She hadn't left the apartment since the second leak. Her reflection in the window looked fragile. A woman cornered by ghosts of her own past. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. A pause. Then a man's voice, soft but edged. You shouldn't have spoken on camera. You bias SI. Her pulse quickened. Who is this? You don't remember me? The voice held a cruel familiarity. Han Seo-jun. From HY Media. The name hit her like a slap. What do you want? What I'm owed, he replied. You both used me. Back then, I protected you, deleted files, covered schedules, made calls. You promised me recognition. Instead, you vanished. That's not true. Yubai whispered. He chuckled lowly. Maybe not. But now, everyone believes me. I have more photos. More proof. I can make the world see what you really are. Please, she said, her voice cracking, stop this. You want me to stop? His tone turned cold. Then meet me. Alone. The line went dead. Yubai's fingers trembled as she clutched the phone. Every instinct screamed at her not to go, but something deeper told her she had no choice. If she didn't face this now, he would destroy them both. Jungkook found out minutes later. He burst through the door, still wearing his hoodie, eyes dark with urgency. Where is he meeting you? Yubai hesitated, then handed him her phone. A parking lot under the old studio in Gangnam. Midnight. Jungkook's voice was low but firm. You're not going alone. She shook her head. If he sees you, he won't talk. Let me do this. You think I'll let you walk into a trap? It's not your fight anymore, Jungkook. He stepped closer, his anger laced with fear. Everything about this is my fight. You think I can watch from the sidelines while someone tears you apart? Her eyes softened, but she said nothing. There was nothing left to argue. Only time ticking closer to midnight. Yet the old studio was sat at the edge of Gangnam, half abandoned, its parking lot drowned in shadows. The flickering light from a broken street lamp painted the wet concrete in restless gold. Yubai arrived alone, hood pulled low, her breath visible in the cold night air. Her footsteps echoed, slow, deliberate, until a figure stepped out from the dark. Han Seo-jun. He looked older, thinner, eyes hollow but burning with bitterness. You came, he said. I'm here, she replied quietly. Now stop this. You've made your point. He smiled faintly. You think this is about revenge? No, this is about truth. People worship you both like gods, but I saw who you really were. Reckless, selfish, hiding behind fame. That's not who we are, she said. He stepped closer, his voice tightening. You were mine to protect, and you threw me away. She recoiled slightly. You helped us because it was your job. He laughed, a sharp, ugly sound. No, Yubai. I helped because I loved you. The words froze her where she stood. Before she could respond, he pulled out his phone. The next leak goes live at midnight. Unless, he lifted the device, his finger hovering over the screen. You tell the world Jungkook used you. That it was all for PR. Her eyes widened. I'll never say that. Then watch everything burn. But before he could press the button, a voice echoed from the shadows. You already crossed that line, Seo-jun. Jungkook stepped out from behind a pillar, his expression cold as steel. Han's face twisted. You followed her. I followed the sound of a coward. Jungkook said. He lunged forward, not to strike, but to grab the phone. Han stumbled back, struggling. The phone clattered to the ground, the screen shattering. For a second, everything went still. The rain, the wind, even their breath. Then Han shouted, You think this ends with me? There are more. You can't bury the truth anymore. Jungkook stared at him, voice low. Then we'll dig it up ourselves. Han smirked, blood on his lip. You'll regret it. Before Jungkook could reply, Han backed away into the shadows, disappearing into the maze of pillars. Gone before they could follow. Yubai stood trembling, her heart hammering in her chest. Jungkook turned to her, his expression softening. You're safe now. But her voice shook. No, Jungkook. He wasn't lying. Someone else is helping him. Jungkook frowned. Who? She hesitated, staring into the empty dark ahead. The flicker of realization crossed her face. Her voice was barely a whisper. Someone from your side. The silence that followed was heavier than thunder. Jungkook's eyes darkened, a slow dread creeping into his chest. For the first time, he realized the real threat wasn't outside. It had been beside him all along. The betrayal within the morning after the confrontation was too quiet. Eerily so. Seoul moved on as if nothing had happened, but Jungkook couldn't. Every shadow seemed to whisper, someone close to you is lying. He hadn't slept. He sat on the balcony, hoodie pulled over his head, eyes fixed on the city below. The wind was cold, carrying the faint hum of traffic and the metallic scent of dawn. Inside, his phone buzzed with calls he didn't answer. Nam finally let himself in, holding 2 cups of coffee. His face was pale, his eyes bloodshot. "You're trending again," Nam said flatly, setting the coffee down. The third leak dropped at 4 a.m. Jungkook's head jerked up. "What?" Nam showed him the phone screen. Another photo. This one even worse, got a close-up of Jungkook and Yoo-bi in her apartment last night, moments before the confrontation. He was holding her arm, worry written on his face. The caption, "Secret meetings continue." Jungkook caught sneaking in again. For a moment, Jungkook couldn't breathe. Someone had been there, someone close enough to take that shot. "Who the hell took this?" he demanded. Nam's voice wavered. "That's what I'm trying to find out." "But Jungkook, whoever it is, they're inside our circle." Jungkook turned away, his jaw tightening. "You think I don't know that?" He picked up his phone, scrolling through the contacts. People he'd trusted, worked with, laughed with. Any of them could be feeding Han Seo-jun. The thought burned through him like acid. At the same time, Yoo-bi sat on the floor of her apartment, surrounded by fragments of printed photos. Each one was a piece of her stolen past. Moments that were never meant to be public, now twisted into something ugly. She picked up a photo of Jungkook laughing during rehearsal, years ago. The innocence in his eyes made her throat tighten. Her manager knocked softly and entered. "You need to stay offline, Yoo-bi? The networks are pulling your ads. They're saying you're unprofessional." Yoo-bi didn't respond. She was staring at one particular image, a photo of her with Jungkook's manager, Nam, from years ago. They were at a press event. Nam was behind them, half smiling. She remembered that night well. It was when the first rumor had started. The first whisper. The first shadow. Her stomach turned. "Wait," she murmured. "Nam was there, wasn't he?" Her manager frowned. "Who?" "Nam. He's always there. Every time something happened." Her words hung in the air like smoke. That evening, Jungkook arrived at the company for an emergency meeting. The building was nearly empty, the tension so thick it was suffocating. PR heads, lawyers, and executives sat around the table, whispering numbers and strategies that he barely listened. His focus was on Nam, sitting across from him, tapping nervously at his tablet. "Nam," Jungkook said suddenly, cutting through the chatter. "Where were you last night?" Nam froze. "What?" "When I went to Yoo-bi's apartment. You knew where I was. You were the only one." Nam's eyes widened. "You think I—" "Just answer," Jungkook said sharply. Nam looked around, his composure slipping. "I was home, asleep." But Jungkook could see the lie flicker across his face like a shadow. The room went still. Everyone sensed it. The fracture, the quiet shift in air. One of the executives cleared his throat awkwardly. "Maybe this conversation should happen privately." Jungkook stood. "It will." He walked out, motioning for Nam to follow. They entered the hallway, the door slamming behind them. "Tell me the truth," Jungkook said, voice low. "Are you working with Han Seo-jun?" Nam's expression twisted, part guilt, part defiance. "You really think I'd betray you?" "I don't know what to think anymore." Nam looked away, his jaw trembling. "You don't understand what it's like. Watching you break the rules, cover things up, make me lie for you. I cleaned your messes, Jungkook. I took the hits for you. And you never looked back." Jungkook's heart pounded. "So this is revenge." Nam's silence said everything. Jungkook stepped closer, eyes burning. "You leaked the photos." Nam's voice cracked. "Only the first one. I didn't know Seo-jun would take it this far. He promised no one would get hurt. But you still did it." Nam's shoulders sagged. "You think this industry forgives anyone who tells the truth? I was disposable. You were the golden one. You always were." The betrayal cut deep, because it was true. Jungkook had trusted him more than anyone, and now everything was crumbling because of it. "You destroyed her life," Jungkook whispered. "And mine." Nam's voice